You can't cancel America. You can't cancel truth. It's time to be unapologetic.
American news, it's more exciting to me than making love.
No safety net, no ceiling. You own it, you earn it. Free market capitalism rocks. My country.
It just makes you happy.
The American dream is dead.
120 days. Give me a break. My son did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong.
We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
If you got a business, that you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Southern California, America, the world. Welcome to Unapologetic, the Judd Dunning Hour on KABC with conservative host and author Judd Dunning.
It's July 11th. We are live on KABC AM 790 here in the city of often fallen, sometimes risen angels, a city where news like if whether or not Lil Nas X kissing a man on stage offended Madonna is bigger news than the end of the COVID virus, and the time is 7 p.m. Welcome to our show, Unapologetic, the Judd Dunning Hour, brought to you by the Triple Net Investment Team at www.dwgcapitalpartners.com. I'm your host here on KABC and the author of the best-selling book, 13 and a Half Reasons Why Not to Be a Liberal, Newsmax columnist and pundit, Judd Dunning. And according to my progressive neighbor, although I've been living in L.A. 25 years, a seditionist bastard who needs not only to take my AK, but also my cultural preferentialism and all my maskless, super spreader, unaccountable, fragile buddies to Texas with me. We are here all summer long, Monday, 7 to 8 in the iconic KABC, and it's so good to be here. Serious, intelligent, conservative guests, some of the greatest conservative minds, and a few laughs to ease your Monday blues during your primetime drive time here in Southern California and across the nation. So this week, after getting back from CPAC Los Angeles, I thought we'd just do it. Let's just start the show right. And I mean to the right. We have two great guests coming. Daniel Greenfield, a fellow at David Horowitz Freedom Center, Front Page Magazine journalist, the blog Sultan Kanesh, and he is taking on unapologetic truths in some great articles. And then we have Nick Givas coming on from James O'Keefe's journalistic truth expose monster Project Veritas, and they are doing a great job investigating and exposing corruption, dishonesty, self-dealing, waste, and fraud. And we're going to talk about big tech truths, mainstream media failure, and all the Veritas projects. So before we start, thank you for coming to our show. What does it mean to be unapologetic? Being unapologetic is now living boldly with rational facts of thinking men and women that remain true, regardless of who's in office, speaking from themselves, regardless of consequence. Being unapologetic is being an American who won't live and allow ourselves to be canceled or silenced or live out of our rational truths, regardless of what state we live in. Obvious truths, like just to name a few here, that Trump won, yet Biden remains in office due to a highly contaminated election process that was affected by the medical aberration of a politicized pandemic. Look at the PA numbers that were just released. Irrefutable. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That America is not racist, but a democratic, free market character and achievement-based meritocratic system where risk can never be removed without removing both the American spirit and American excellence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That climate change is predominantly politically hijacked, weaponized junk science used for globalists, leftists to divide our citizens, create profits, and expand governmental power. We hold those truths to be self-evident. That's what we talk about on this show. That COVID-19 was only a severe yet survivable flu that never merited becoming the world's greatest event of government expansion and control, with distorted and weaponized stats to destroy Trump's unbeatable economy, and that it ultimately became the history's greatest political power and income redistribution scheme, and that in Fauci's own emails, that he said that the experimental vaccine isn't even needed for a full recovery. We hold these truths to be self-evident because we are Americans. We're just as equal. There's no one greater in our classless society. We are the founding fathers, just another generation removed. That open borders and illegal immigration are about votes, not people, and the American addiction to cheap corporate labor, not love. And they threaten not only our electorate, but our security through drugs, fentanyl, human sex trafficking, radical terrorism. And all of these are inhumane. We hold these truths to be self-evident. See how fun this is? You are protected under the Constitution, rights given by God, and you get to be the arbiter of truth, not big tech, not the people that have been elected, not the president, but you. We are the most unapologetic, important part of America. And that's what this show is about here every Monday night in Los Angeles, Southern California, and the world. One more, that lower taxes create and stimulate prosperity, not fuel inequality, that our already highly progressive taxation system already puts the burden of American mostly on the wealthy, with the top 10% of Americans already paying 71% of federal income taxes compared to 46% of U.S. households with an income below $50,000 paying no income taxes. America is already fair. Do not buy the lies. We hold these truths to be self-evident. You know, and the one that's, I think, even more true to all of us right now in July, you know, happy birthday, America. That America's birth was in 1776, not 1619. Why? This year that the cultural Marxists and critical race aficionados now claim African slaves first arrived to America and should be our birth, when actually a free black man had already arrived with Ponce de Leon in 1513, a free black man. And when Spanish brought slaves later, and they'd come in 1562 to go to European settlement in St. Augustine, Florida. None of it's true. You know, this making such false claims that we have a racist beginning this year for people who don't understand history to our proud nation is disrespectful to all Americans of every color that died and gave their sacred honor, fortune, and lives to forge our great nation out from oppressive and tyrannical British rule. We hold these truths to be self-evident because we are the citizens. And that's just a few. Now, we're going to be here all summer long, so the unapologetic truths are going to come. But if you're like me and you just know the truth, you know it's self-evident, come back to our show. So we have some, you're here, you've tuned in to KABC 790, AM 790, the Unapologetic, the Judd Dunning Hour, brought to you by DWG Capital Partners. And we've got a great guest, Daniel Greenfield, who's coming to us. And we have him on the air now. We're just honored to have this intellect of this right, this unabashed, unapologetic truth teller. Daniel, thanks for coming to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to hear. It's great to have you here. Listen, I have to tell you, you're an author, a columnist, a journalist. You're an unabashed critic of leftist domestic and foreign foolishness. And your new article just struck a chord with me, and I'm so glad. You've dropped 3 in the last few weeks. So, ladies and gentlemen, sultankanish.com or danielgreenfield.org. You got to follow Daniel. He's like his own Breitbart. He's like his own Epic Times. He is really dropping some clear truth. Really glad to have you here. You just wrote a new article. The new social justice war on drugs is bigger than ever. This moved me because I know what's going on in our city and how bad it's been. So I want to say your opening line, California legalized pot 5 years ago, but you couldn't tell from the scale of the drug war. Explain this unapologetic truth of what's really going on with legalized marijuana and the desecration of our civil society.
So for those of us who are following news in LA, and actually the latest bust in which over $1 billion in marijuana was seized actually made national news, are wondering what in the world is going on. California legalized drugs. Why are there these huge marijuana busts happening? So the answer is that they absolutely legalized drugs. Of course, they also made marijuana ridiculously expensive because the whole point of legalizing it was to move money to special political interests and to the government. As a result, an ounce of pot on the street costs $100 less than actually going to one of the legal so-called dispensaries, and that's never mind places like Mad Men, which are meant to be the Apple Store of marijuana and are ridiculously expensive. So the cartels, of course, have moved in. They've seized a lot of wilderness. They've set up massive operations. You know, you can't find good avocados in Los Angeles anymore half the time. You're getting them from Mexico. Here, if you're trying to do agriculture, you're dealing with insane regulations when it comes to water, insane prices. But at the same time, the cartels and the various illegal growers are able to steal water. They don't follow any regulations. They don't comply with any of the environmental stuff. So their business has been booming. It's been booming massively because the bottom line is now there's no criminal prosecution for buying or dealing or using marijuana at the same. So they're able to actually expand operations massively. And California is launching a drug war, not because in the past they say that drugs are bad for you. That's because they want their share of the money. So you've got the Democrats who are in power fighting the cartels for control of the drug business. We've actually become a Latin American country.
Daniel, this is such an important issue. We'll be right back at Judd Dunning Unapologetic Hour here at AM 790 KABC. We'll be right back. Daniel, it's so good to have you back. So, look, you've got to come back and do the whole show. You're dropping the articles faster than I can keep moving. But let's continue with what you just said. So we all thought that marijuana, when it was legalized, was going to affect our society. Now we have northern Los Angeles, basically a cartel lockdown, a stronghold up there. And you were talking about the financial elements that have done that. So how is this flowing into, is it integrating with fentanyl? We've got this fentanyl issue coming up from the border. Is that also being handled by these same dangerous entities in our fair Los Angeles?
So some of them, you've got fentanyl coming across the border, and you've also got obviously various kinds of things, including marijuana, coming across the border. But they've also found that in California, you can set up shop and just grow it right here on a massive scale because of legalization. And obviously, when you have organized crime, one part of organized crime, one part of the cartels dovetails with the other. So when you've got them financing their operations one way, that actually means that just like any business, they can invest their money into other things like fentanyl smuggling. So when you've got the whole idea of legalizing marijuana was that it was going to supposedly weaken organized crime. Instead, organized crime, the cartels are stronger than ever. And with the profits that they make from growing marijuana in northern Los Angeles, they can invest that money into various other operations, into various other crimes, including fentanyl smuggling.
You know, it really is intense for me because I got sober back in the 80s, before crack. When it was just kind of like out of control, the Reagan years in college, things were crazy. And I got sober. I've been in that movement for a very, very long time. I mentor a lot of men. It's part of my spirituality. It's my mitzvah. It's where I give back. And the way that people, since we brought in Prop 47 into California in 2014, that law that made drug possession offenses punishable by a misdemeanor only, and allowed people in state prison to try to petition for resentencing. I've seen a degradation. We've called people at our real estate company, and we said, hey, there's people rolling there fighting, surrounded by needles. The cops come with their gloves, and they walk away. They're like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. But what about the kids that we're leaving behind? What about the kids that could use going to jail as an intercessionary event so that they can hit bottom and get, well, I think we're killing a lot of children. We're killing a lot of people by taking away justice as it relates to drugs. And, the thing is marijuana is a gateway drug. And, that's an old conservative. But here we see that decline. So what's to be done when your society is going downhill and the cartels are stepping into our county, taking over our county around marijuana? What's to be done?
Well, to begin with, we have to admit the legalization has failed. The whole plan of legalization was that it was actually going to reduce drug use. It was going to reduce organized crime. It has absolutely not done that. As you're seeing, organized crime, cartels, drug dealers are actually bigger than ever. And you mentioned the gateway drug. It's a gateway drug personally, but it's also a gateway drug economically, which means that once you get into business with marijuana, you start actually looking for even more profitable drug trade. So the whole thing becomes vertically integrated. We have to admit that it has absolutely failed. This was being pitched to us by some people on the left, but also even by some people on the right as a solution. It's absolutely not an answer. We've actually got more addicts than ever. That's one of the reasons, the underlying causes of the great homeless crisis that's happening around here, which is not a crisis of people not having homes. It's a crisis of people using drugs heavily and self-medicating when they have mental illness. Building more homes is not going to do it. Los Angeles has spent $700,000 trying to build per unit apartments. They've began building 8x8 sheds for $100,000. Now they're back to actually renting tents for $2,600 a month. None of that is obviously doing anything. You've actually got to tackle the underlying root cause, which is the drug use. And we've got to say that this whole plan of legalizing drugs absolutely created a monster cartel system. The cartels are now bigger than ever in the area. They're terrorizing people. They're taking over farms. They're pushing out the last of the agriculture in the area. And as a result, we're actually surrounded increasingly by organized crime. We're surrounded by homeless people. We're surrounded by junkies who are actually responsible for a lot of the local violence. When you look at the level of aggravated assaults, a whole lot of them are coming from the so-called homeless population. Those are people with drug addictions and mental illness. So we are creating a much bigger nightmare than we had before drug legalization.
And to jump onto that point, in Santa Monica, on the 8th Street parking structure, a meth-crazed guy walked up to a young couple, right? This is like in the last 2 weeks. Walked up to you in an open Jeep, a topless Jeep, said, "I'm going to rape the woman you're with," threatened the guy, pulled him out, accosted the guy, the woman, jumped in, hijacked her, went and ran back and forth over a guy in the Santa Monica. He was a meth-crazed homeless guy, went around the corner and crashed. And, this is not headline news. I mean, this is now coming home to the danger and the levels. Look, I live in West L.A., and, on the corner, when we allowed it to get to a point, we finally kind of took care of it by using the proper channels. And, there was a guy dead in there. And I walked down there. There were 72 needles. We had to put our gloves on. There was human feces and waste there. Why are the left abandoning civil order with the homeless and mental illness, which both are, by the way, it's illegal to be off your meds and to be a danger to society. It's illegal to use drugs. Why are they doing this?
It's the same philosophy behind police defunding, which is the idea that any kind of law enforcement is now racist, it's discriminatory, yet at the same time we see the kind of incredible human misery which you described, which so many people have described. There are so many videos you can see online of the complete degradation. These people are being abandoned without any help. There are all these homeless activists who insist that they should be allowed to live on the street and die of drug overdoses and contract typhus. Who is this exactly helping? It's certainly not helping these people. It's certainly not helping anybody who's living in these cities who has to walk their children past horrifying sights every single day. It's not merciful. It's not compassionate. It's actually incredibly cruel. This is also what we've seen with police defunding, which was supposed to help black people. Instead, now 70% of black people are saying that violent crime is the biggest priority threat and needs to be dealt with. That's why you've got Eric Adams winning in New York, and you've got black politicians who are promising to crack down on crime actually pulling out ahead. So the people they are promising, the left is promising to help, whether it's black people, whether it's homeless people, those are the people they are hurting.
Daniel Greenfield, before we end, tell everybody where they could follow. You're an important voice. That's what this show is about, Unapologetic. Tell people where they can reach you and follow you.
I'm a showman journalism fellow with the David Horowitz Freedom Center. My articles appear daily at frontpagemag.com and at my own site, danielgreenfield.org.
So thank you so much. Make sure to put Daniel on your hot list, folks. So this is cultural Marxism. This is the desecration, the polarization of society for political overreach, for elites to create laws they're never going to live under and aggregate wealth and power. It is a disease that's happening. What's next? What should Los Angelinos do about this crisis? What do you think? What do you think the channel is?
Well, the bottom line is that people have to stop voting for the same failed policies. They had resolutions here and they've had propositions that called for spending a whole lot more tax money on whether it's the homeless crisis, or they're now proposing a $100 million bailout of the so-called legal marijuana industry.
That's right.
It's insane.
And not to cut you short, Daniel, but you're right. You heard it, L.A., is we need to change who we vote for and take action today. Thank you, Daniel Greenfield. We'll be right back. KABC's Unapologetic, the Judd Dunning Hour. You're here on AM 790, KABC on Unapologetic, the Judd Dunning Hour. Every Monday night, 7 to 8 p.m., all summer long, and brought to you by www.dwgcapitalpartners.com. Don't know where to turn as you feel the instability of the Biden burn? Down on the American economy? We can help. If you're seeking a safe, triple net, essential industrial, above market yielding investment, then you can let us do all the heavy lifting and bring home those nearly add value above market returns. DWGCapitalPartners.com. That's DWGCapitalPartners.com. Are you confused about how to navigate against Biden's economic war in America? Are you worried that our new government will take away your tax breaks and negatively impact your yields? You should be. DWGCapitalPartners.com is on it for you. We'll protect you. DWG Capital Partners has done the forecasting and analysis for you.
DWG Capital Partners will help you earn more and get better return on your investments. Our team of conservative commercial real estate veterans care. Are you tired of laying down while being gaslit and pummeled with fake news and fictitious alternative facts as conservatives and Republicans? Do you need an entertaining, powerful, and informative handbook on every conservative issue, what to know, and how to win all those arguments with your liberal frenemies? Or are you already a diehard conservative who loves America, who simply wants to sharpen your toolbox of history, facts, and philosophy for the battle ahead until 2024? Newsmax contributor, columnist, and KABC AM 7090 host Judd Dunning, myself, has a new book for you. It's 13.5 Reasons Why Not to Be a Liberal and How to Enlighten Others. A timeless yet also hot topic guide on the main tenets and issues of American conservatism today. Buy our new Amazon bestseller, 13.5 Reasons Why, and join our unapologetic army at www.newsmax/13. Buy your copy today. That's www.newsmax13 or direct through Amazon. As Dinesh D'Souza said in his foreword, Antifa leftists may still burn this book. And Roger Stone, this is a must-read for those determined to defeat the unhinged left. Get your copy today. That's www.newsmax/13. You're here on AM 790 KABC on Unapologetic, the Judd Dunning Hour. Every Monday night, 7 to 8 p.m., all summer long, and brought to you by www.dwgcapitalpartners.com. Don't know where to turn as you feel the instability of the Biden burn? Down on the American economy? We can help. If you're seeking a safe, triple net, essential industrial, above market yielding investment, then you can let us do all the heavy lifting and bring home those nearly add value above market returns. DWGcapitalpartners.com. That's DWGcapitalpartners.com.
All right, we are back, and we are here after an amazing time with our first guest, Daniel Greenfield from Front Page. And now we're going right into really my favorite organization. I went to CPAC in Orlando. It was great. And I felt, even more than Trump, the rock stars was James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, and his crew. And we're honored to have Nick Givas here from his right-hand man in his battle. They are doing guerrilla-style, gotcha, deep, intelligent, truth-exposing investigative reporting. And, what a night here. Glad to have these two men who love America as much as I do. Nick, thanks for coming. I know you're not feeling great after CPAC. I appreciate you getting on the air with me and being the patriot that you are.
Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, thank you. So I was exposed to Veritas, Planned Parenthood. I mean, that when the baby's parts, and we saw the viciousness of pro-choice a while ago, and I have followed you ever since. And you've been lately, I mean, you're starting to pivot into COVID. You exposed the falsely overstated and pack lines in the COVID tested facility staged by CBS in Michigan, I remember. You did the Charlie Chester's COVID death toll over exaggerations. And now Biden is out there. He's stalking the unvaxxed, we're seeing, with COVID essentially over. With a new lockdown coming, imaginary specters of Delta and Lambda and all the other fraternal orders of Animal House are coming after us. So how much of the time are you guys spending on this, international lockdown and the consequences on America? And what else is going on in Veritas?
Yeah, well, as far as the healthcare concerns, we always have insiders coming from every corner of every industry, and especially healthcare lately with COVID. So definitely keep your eyes open for more stories on that. I can't go into detail about ongoing investigations or stories, but as far as that, yeah, there will be more to come. What we're really focused on, though, as of these last few weeks and months, has been lawsuits. We've gone to court against the New York Times, Twitter, and CNN. And on top of that, we've had these media insiders coming forward, which is somewhat surprising. So many in the media that really wanted to blow the whistle on all this corruption, and we're finally giving them a platform to do that, and they're stepping forward one by one.
As the tip of the spear, I would say, I mean, the CNN stuff you did was amazing. I mean, you also exposed ABC for suppressing the Jeffrey Epstein story. I remember that. That was not to upset the royal family. So right now, Trump has launched this big tech with his America First Policy Center. 43,000 other people have already jumped on board. What's Veritas' role in that? Are you aligned in those cases as well?
As of now, I don't believe so, but that's could change in the future. It is obviously a class action lawsuit, I believe, the one President Trump launched. Our case was launched before that, just singularly focused on James and his account and why it was taken off Twitter. But anything can happen. It's definitely a stay tuned type of story, and we did notice that, and we were happy to see more and more people pointing out what many of Americans, millions of Americans already know, that big tech is stifling free speech and the First Amendment bit by bit.
So being on the inside as the head of as the managing editor, you see the darkness, right? You see the darkest part of this cultural Marxism, this expansion, this destruction of America and the war of ideas. What's the biggest threat that you would say that now that you're in the trenches that you see, and what's the main solution we need to keep our eyes on besides just exposing truth?
That's a great question. I think apathy is the biggest threat facing us. It's when people stop caring. It's when people stop asking questions. It's when they stop wanting to know what's going on, or when they accept something that clashes with their freedom or their God-given rights because it's easier. And we're all guilty of it, and myself included in certain moments. And I think with such a large amount of that apathy going around, people not only need to wake up, that's a cliche, we're beyond waking up, people need to act. And people need to, start filming things with their own cell phone cameras. They need to start looking and shining a light in their own corner of their own world where they see darkness. And we're there to help. You can call us, you can email us at Project Veritas anytime you want, sending us information on Telegram. But it starts with the people in the field. And that's what I would say our biggest weakness is. We need more people to back us up.
More light into the dark. Apathy is a big issue because, look, 14,000 people in the arrests during the BLM riots were basically mostly let off, many of them. And 500 other people are being treated like they're Guantanamo prisoners over, questioning election integrity. I mean, I think consequent culture has never been as serious as it is right now. And so what does it mean to be a Republican and conservative? I think a lot of people are burned out after COVID. They just need to survive. As my dad used to say, government, stay the heck out of my business. It's just the bottom line when we get back to life. But we could shift into apathy. So what do you think the pitfalls are for, what is the average Republican conservative who doesn't want to fall into apathy do besides looking for, to be in the middle of injustice, you've got to be in certain places. What do we do to re-energize the base with all these attacks on our free speech until 2022, until 2024, where hopefully, if we don't contaminate the process with SR1, we're going to have a return to, fair and free elections?
I think this can apply also to independents and some Democrats as well. Some people are either on the, extreme end of the spectrum, right or left. It's going to be difficult to convince them of anything, but the people that are willing to hear it out, the people that are worried about slipping into apathy, personalize it. Go after an issue, chase after an issue that means something to you, that affects your life, that affects your child, that affects your spouse, that affects your family. And I've found as a journalist for now many years and have worked in politics, this is what drives people. It's do you have skin in the game? Is it personalized to you? And that's why a lot of our insiders come forward, because it's that straw that broke the camel's back that sends them into that state of, I can't do this anymore. I have to speak out. So I would say get ahead of that. Don't let life come and smack you upside the head with that moment. Come to grips with it now. Try to find that niche now. And step forward to outlets like Project Veritas. Blast your information as far as you can. Bust out a megaphone. Get involved. Community, organize within your community. And in my personal opinion, I cling to God. I pray very often. I think meditation and prayer at a time like this, when we are this beat up, is a necessity to keep going.
To stay out of the war of ideas, I absolutely agree. I mean, if you don't as a conservative, if you don't wake up in the morning and step into virtue, depth, and wisdom and take a few moments for the divine, you'll get hijacked. You will go into fake stream media. You'll go into social media censorship, and you'll go asleep. And they really, really want you to go to sleep. And I don't think anybody is out there, folks, saying don't fall asleep more than Project Veritas, because you guys will drop pure truth, and then you'll be gaslit and flushed down the mainstream 24-hour media cycle and then sued days later. I mean, you are the tip of the spear, and I know you're. I'm going to let you go nurture yourself today, and prepare for the next great American day ahead of you. We really appreciate you coming here, Nick. And folks, please follow Veritas. And if you would just give us one last call out for where people can donate to your great organization.
Yeah, they can go to projectveritas.com directly, and there is a donate tab, or they can also follow James on Telegram. That's a newer app that we've switched to after this Twitter battle, P10, after they threw him off. So they can follow us on either two of those, and tell your listeners, please keep the faith. Don't give up and keep fighting for what they believe in.
Serpentine motion. Just keep moving. Just keep moving. You're jumping from platform to platform so we can hear your voice. Thanks so much, Nick, and we'd love to have you back.
Thank you, sir. I'll come back anytime.
Thank you so much. You're here at KABC, AM 790, Judd Dunning at the Unapologetic, and I'll say my name twice, the Judd Dunning Hour. Thanks for coming. We'll be right back.
That's right, Southern California. It's time for the Conservative Comedians Counter Cancel Culture Corner.
Welcome back, Southern California. You just heard from the great Daniel Greenfield and Nick Givas at the Project Veritas. In a world of fake news, it's now all about who you choose. And these guys are both pure, blunt truth and great men to follow. So make sure to do so. And thanks for choosing us as well here as we come back weekly every Monday night. I'm Judd Dunning and your host here at AM 790 KABC, Unapologetic, the Judd Dunning Hour. Okay, LA Rule 64. Never take yourself too seriously, especially when there's now only 1,211 days until the Harris Pelosi presidency is out of office. But who's counting? Except us weekly. So it's time again for that comedic relief moment of our show.
That's right, Southern California. It's time for the Conservative Comedians Counter Cancel Culture Corner.
All right. And I think, it's just, it's either me at halftime or another weekly conservative comedian to take on cancel culture by seeking cancellation. After all, it's just comedy. And at last, I believe the Constitution demands it. So let's start. I'm Judd Dunning. Welcome to Unapologetic, our 3-minute weekly weaponized news that you can use mostly to get you terminated from your employment and labeled an anti-vaxxer when you're simply not pro-poison. As we were off air last week, I did want to say happy birthday, America. 244 years. You don't look a day over 243. Actually, since Biden took office, history is now officially going backward. For you conservatives, God bless America. For those of you on the left, happy Racism Day. For the many globalists who not understand the significance of 1776, well, I'll explain it. It was the original Brexit, which is similarly known in England as Happy Treason Day, and which is now known in America as any day you question the idiocy of Don Lemon. And celebrating the Independence Day with the radical left in charge was much more complicated this year. Under Mayor Lightfoot's 4th of July, the 64,000 question was, are those sounds fireworks or gunshots? The world will never know. For all those leftists bitching about how fireworks were racist this year, all I can say is, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over my freedom. And briefly in the news, America's been in an uproar as a judge denied Britney Spears' request to remove her father from her conservatorship. I find it ironic that we live in a world where Britney will eventually be locked up in an asylum, and yet Hunter Biden is allowed to roam free. And after serving 2 years, Bill Cosby was released from prison after a court overturned his conviction due to a prior non-prosecution agreement. Cosby's release from prison is great news. Now he can go help OJ find the real killers. Cosby should buy a round of drinks for the judge, prosecutors, and defense team who all let him off. Except I strongly suggest that they don't drink them. We've just learned that the one thing that trumps the Me Too movement is black privilege. See how easy that was to label an unrelated issue a racial one? I should become a Democrat.
Have you ever thought about investing in real estate but didn't have the time? Does Biden's economy have you confused and stressed? Or maybe you don't want to worry about the hassle of tenants, toilets, and trash. Those concerns can be put to rest. DWG Capital Partners, LLC, a national private equity real estate firm, has a method to assist you. Now you can invest passively into triple net industrial single-tenant cash-flowing real estate, America's hottest asset class, without all the hassles. All carefully chosen by seasoned Los Angeles real estate veterans for safety, security, and yield. Right now, DWG Capital Partners has a hot new triple net property in Texas. Act fast to be on this brand new high-yielding offering. It's a dream deal for those looking to invest in institutional-level industrial-occupied properties and in a tax-free state. Visit DWGCapitalPartners.com for more details on how you might invest. When you contact us at DWG Capital Partners, we'll help you determine if our investments are right for you. Contact DWGCapitalPartners.com today.
Well, LA, SoCal, America, the world, what great guests we've had this week. It's so great to have you, your thoughts, your minds, and your souls, your conservative souls with us. And I just want to thank you for coming. And before I say goodbye, after coming back from CPAC and listening to that essential echo chamber that we need, because there is a war of ideas out there. The cultural Marxism of the progressive hard left doesn't need to be organized because the ideas are so horrible. So when you're sharing with your neighbor, your friends, and your family what is good and true and noble and enduring as a conservative, you're spreading light that is necessary until we get to the other side of this. So remember what's at stake. Remember what's at stake. With America still living just barely out of the icy claws of the flu, or as I like to call it now, Novid, and yet Comrade Biden launching his door-to-door vaccine compliance tour as our nation remains asleep under the rule of radicals, I leave you tonight with a few final thoughts as I proffer the words of a great man and a few of my own. Socialism is a philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, the gospel of envy. Its inherent virtue is the equal sharing of misery. Winston S. Churchill. Having just returned from CPAC, I saw Glenn Beck, others, Trump speak. Notice I didn't put Trump first because Trump is not everything that the right is about. He's just a man who aligns with our values. And as always, CPAC had no anger, no radicalism, no racism, nor is there any hate from the left as they hate us, but only grateful passion for our country and the values that made us. And this is the higher road of we American conservatives. What the left ironically fails to grasp is that America's nationalism, ideological taproot is paradoxical. It's only collective in its anti-collectivism. We Americans are bound together in a mutual agreement to be ruled, but only lightly so. We remain individuals and ultimately autonomous to make our own choices. Those of us that support Trump and America First to approach the government, it's that. It's not the man. We're not sheep following a single leader. We're following the ideas that align with our heritage. We understand this when Trump rails against the broken American machine. We align beside him as individuals, but only for something greater than Trump. We demand the preservation of a country guided by God, freedom, family, and values, none of which government provides, none of which your government provides. A collective identity to seek individual excellence is neither racist or subversive, but it's actually patriotic, and it's called on. It's demanded in our traditions, our history, and our Judeo-Christian values embodied in our Constitution. As our good book says, the book before the Constitution, to shine is divine, nor do they light a lamp and then put it under a bushel or basket. It is set on a lampstand where it gives light to all in the house. Just so your light must shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your heavenly Father. Matthew 5:14-16. And that, regardless of the left, will tell you, is America. To soar, to shine, to strive, to not hate your strength are holy demands of a God-centered life. This is intensely, irrefutably American, regardless of color, gender, creed, and affiliation. We conservatives trust that we are good and perfectly made by a loving God in our 244 years of blessings. Liberals hate this simple but true view. It can't be demeaned or belittled with a woke intellectual elitism, nor can its inherent humility be labeled racist. It's too humble, too pure, and true, as are the simple tenets of conservatism. Stay unapologetic. God bless you. God bless America. God bless AM radio. We'll see you next week.
You're here on AM 790 KABC on Unapologetic, the Judd Dunning Hour. Every Monday night, 7 to 8 p.m., all summer long, and brought to you by www.dwgcapitalpartners.com. Don't know where to turn as you feel the instability of the Biden burn? Down on the American economy? We can help. If you're seeking a safe, triple net, essential industrial, above market yielding investment, then you can let us do all the heavy lifting and bring home those nearly add value above market returns. DWGCapitalPartners.com. That's DWGCapitalPartners.com. Are you confused about how to navigate against Biden's economic war in America? Are you worried that our new government will take away your tax breaks and negatively impact your yields? You should be. DWGCapitalPartners.com is on it for you. We'll protect you. DWG Capital Partners has done the forecasting and analysis for you. DWG Capital Partners will help you earn more and get better return on your investments. Our team of conservative commercial real estate veterans care. Are you tired of laying down while being gaslit and pummeled with fake news and fictitious alternative facts as conservatives and Republicans? Do you need an entertaining, powerful, and informative handbook on every conservative issue, what to know, and how to win all those arguments with your liberal frenemies? Or are you already a diehard conservative who loves America, who simply wants to sharpen your toolbox of history, facts, and philosophy for the battle ahead until 2024? Newsmax contributor, columnist, and KABC AM 7090 host Judd Dunning, myself, has a new book for you. It's 13.5 Reasons Why Not to Be a Liberal and How to Enlighten Others. A timeless yet also hot topic guide on the main tenets and issues of American conservatism today. Buy our new Amazon bestseller, 13.5 Reasons Why, and join our unapologetic army at www.newsmax/13. Buy your copy today. That's www.newsmax13 or direct through Amazon. As Dinesh D'Souza said in his foreword, Antifa leftists may still burn this book. And Roger Stone, this is a must-read for those determined to defeat the unhinged left. Get your copy today. That's www.newsmax/13. Max/13. 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 Max/13.